In South Africa, former minister and anti-apartheid activist Tito Mboweni has died after a brief illness. He was 65. Mboweni was the first post-apartheid Labour minister under President Nelson Mandela. He's known for transforming labour legislation and fighting for workers' rights. Mboweni was also the first black person to lead South Africa's central bank. He served as finance minister under the current President Cyril Ramaphosa before retiring from politics in 2021. And we can now speak to DW correspondent Christine Mundba, who has extensive experience reporting from South Africa. Christine, people both outside and inside the country are paying tribute to the man. He was quite a towering figure, wasn't he?
Absolutely. In fact, he can safely be described as one of the founding fathers of South Africa's democratic dispensation. This is one of those leaders who sacrificed his youth and life in South Africa as a young man to go into exile and to fight against the system of oppression known as apartheid. I always say to people, remember, these people could not have known that what they were fighting for would be realized in their lifetimes. But then he goes on, he gets into office. He's in that first cabinet post, after that first election, South Africa's first democratic election. And one of the things that can be said about him today, you'll be hearing about all sorts of reflections, but he is going down in the books as a principled man, somebody who stood according to his principle. And in a country where there is a dearth of leadership of his caliber, where so many senior politicians, particularly from the ANC, have been mired in corruption scandals, this is one individual who people are saying this is the leadership that we so long for in a country where these leaders are becoming absolutely rare, Gerhard.
Revered as he might be, his policies were not without criticism, I understand. How is he going down in history, you think?
Look, he starts out as the Labour minister, right? And I think there people today will still say he is credited for fighting for black workers in South Africa. So he gets in as Labour minister. Remember, he's taken over at a time where the labour laws virtually favoured white workers to the expense of black workers. So everything that is in South Africa's constitution, most of what is in South Africa's constitution now as it pertains to labour laws, he's credited for. So everything from, miners' rights, mining was a big employer, propagating the rights of workers to be able to unionize, to be able to join and form trade unions, to strike, to get maternity benefits, all of these things that South African workers largely enjoy. There was also glass ceilings for black workers, which he was helpful in removing. By the time he was at the Reserve Bank and later in the finance ministry, people didn't always agree with some of the policies that he propagated. They felt he became a bit neoliberal in his policymaking. At the Reserve Bank, they set this target for inflation, which at some point saw the bank raising interest rates. And there were questions about whether or not that was good for black working South Africans. But again, the point is, whether or not you disagreed with him, it was on a matter of principle and integrity. And people don't take away from the fact that people felt that this was a real patriot for the country.
Very briefly, please. He retired in 2021, but he remained in the public eye, right?
Yeah, very active on social media. In fact, he kept the country entertained with his cooking recipes. People felt that he was a very bad cook, might have been a good sort of public servant, but not a very good cook. But we're told that he was also working on an autobiography. And I think there are a lot of people hoping that that will be making its way into the public domain for people to read and learn more about this man's leadership.
Christine Mundba there. Thank you very much, Christine.